Hi guys, we're back for our last video on exponential functions, and we're going to be talking about the derivative of exponential functions. Okay, so remember that the convenient base for exponential functions is the irrational number e. So the convenience of this base stems primarily from the fact that the function f of x is equal to e to the x power is actually its own derivative. Okay, but this is not true for all exponential functions of the form y equals a to the x, where a does not equal e. Okay, so when we differentiate an exponential function, the exponent is not going to change. Okay, and for this lesson, we are going to be using the differentiation rules, right? These. You've seen these before. We're going to be using them. We're going to be using mainly the constant multiple rule and the quotient and product rule. All right, let's dive right into it. So we have our together questions that want us to find the derivatives of each of these functions. So we have e to the third x power. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your power, find the derivative. The derivative of 3x is 3. That goes in front of e, and then you keep your exponent. Look to simplify. If you don't have anything to simplify, then you are done. Okay? So we move on to the next one. Again, we're finding the derivative of the exponent, which we would move the 3 to the front of negative 2, right? So we get negative 6x, and then that loses a power. So that's the power rule just in this alone. So we get negative 6x squared. Put that in front of our e, and we keep our exponent. Okay, I would look to see if I can simplify anything, but I don't have anything to simplify. So I am done with that question. We move on to the next question. 4 times e to the x squared power. So I need to find a derivative of x squared, which is 2x, so that goes in front. And then I have 4e, and then I keep x squared. I can simplify this because I can do 2 times 4. So then I would have 8x times e to the x squared power. This would be my answer right here. Okay? Next one, e to the negative second x power. So the derivative of negative 2x is negative 2. Keep the e, keep my exponent. Okay, it's not too bad. Now, numbers 5 and 6 is where we get into the product rule and the quotient rule. Okay, so just pay close attention. Okay, so we have x squared times e to the x power. So for the product rule, you keep the first term, which is x squared. Okay, and you're going to multiply it by the derivative of the second term. Remember, we learned that e to the x power is its own derivative, so it stays like that. Okay, then we're going to be adding with the product rule, and we are going to then find the derivative of x squared. The derivative of x squared is 2x. Okay, and then we keep e to the x power. Okay, now we're going to look to see if we can simplify. We're going to look, what do these both have in common? What can I take out to have this more simplified? I notice that they both have ex, right? So I can pull e to the x out. And then I'm left with what? If I pull this out and this out, this is what I'm left with. But do these two terms have anything in common? They have an x in common, so I can also pull an x out. So I have x to the times e to the x power, okay? I pull that out. From here, you're basically like dividing. So x squared times ex divided by x to the ex, the x is e to the x cancels out. If I have x squared and I take 1 away, then I'm left with 1. Over here, I lose the ex and I lose an x, so I'm just left with 2. Okay? Just like that. And if I was to FOIL that back in, I would get this one right here. Okay? The next one, I have e to the x power divided by x squared. This one's a little bit trickier, so just do your best to follow along, okay? So, just like the product rule, we're going to keep the x squared at first, multiply it by the derivative of the top, which again is just e to the x. Okay, with the quotient rule, you're going to be subtracting. Okay, then we keep the top, multiply it by the derivative. So the derivative of x squared is 2x. Okay, then I'm going to look and say, well, am I done? No, I'm missing a part to the quotient rule. So I'm going to divide by x squared, and that is going to be squared because it's your bottom term squared. Okay, so when I simplify this, I'm coming over here. I have x, right? I can pull an x out from both of them. They both have an x in common, and they both have an ex in common. So here we go again. I'm left with x, and then it would be minus 2 left over up top. So I've simplified the top. Now I can simplify the bottom. I have x squared times all that squared. So I would take the base, which is x, take my exponents and multiply them. 2 times 2 is 4. So I have x to the 4th power. Am I done now? No. The numerator and denominator have something in common. So what would that be? They both have an x. This one has 4, that one has 1. So if I divide, I can cancel the top one out, and this one will reduce by 1. So I'm left with e to the x times x minus 2 up top, because the x has canceled out, and this one loses a power, so it's just x to the 3rd. This one would be your answer, okay? Remember, if you guys have any questions, feel free to email me. Play this video as many times as you need so you can practice the steps. Pause it so you can write things down, take notes, whatever you guys need. Hope you guys are doing well.